Hi, I'm Heidi from Rondos Creations, where we make and supply creations for you, your home and your friends. This is the how-to instruction video for our rope basket bowl. I'm going to show you how to make your basket bowl using this kit available from Rondos Creations. Or you can follow along as well if you've got your own cords and supplies. Here's what's in your kit. Your how-to instruction card, a darning needle, your 2 chosen colours of braided cord for wrapping, your chunky filler rope, and you'll also need some sharp scissors, a tape measure, and sometimes a peg is useful. To begin with, I've taken my main colour of wrapping cord and I've cut a 6 metre length. You can use slightly more if you've got a bit of patience, or if it's easier you can use a shorter length. You'll just end up with slightly more joins in your basket, but they tend to blend in with your stitches anyway. I've also got my filler rope here, that's the whole length, and I've threaded on my darning needle onto my cut 6 metre length to roughly halfway along. So I'm going to cut the end of my filler rope at an angle, like so. This just thins it down a bit to make it easier when you're working. Get those bits out of the way. Just pull off any fluffy bits and take the end of my wrapping cord and lay it in the opposite direction to the filler cord, like so. And you want an overlap of about 3-4 centimetres either way. And I'm going to hold it in my left hand and wrap the filler cord with my right hand. If you're left-handed, you might want to swap it round, as I'm right-handed. And I'm going to start wrapping, covering this end of wrapping cord as we go. As we wrap it round, holding on to both, keeping it nice and secure and tight, and keep wrapping. And we're going to wrap 16 times around this filler cord here. Cover that end. There we go. Now we've just got the filler rope to hold on to. And keep wrapping. So how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. Now if you sort of bend it, the next step, you want to bend the bit we've just wrapped into a loop and pinch it together. Try and push it into a shape. And this is going to form the bottom of your basket bowl here. That's this section here that we're creating. So I'm going to bend this loop round so it joins my wraps, sort of line up like so. We don't want this loop to be too small because it'll make it harder when we begin stitching into it. So I'm going to now pinch the 2 parts together with my left hand, and I'm now going to wrap the cord around both parts, and that's what joins it together. So if we can, whoopsie, wrap it around both parts to cover that join. So I'm going to wrap it round maybe about 6 times and try and bend it as you go, because it makes it easier to form the shape. So that's 3, 4, 5 and about 6 there, and I've covered the end of that filler rope as well. So we've bent it round, sort of back on itself, and if I can just show you the back here, we want this end of cord to end up in a straight line from the last wrap we've done into the centre hole here, like this. So I'm going to take my needle, flip it back over and pass it through the loop in the centre and pull the cord all the way through, like so. And then I'm going to pull it up and back to where we were wrapping, like that. And that's my first stitch, like that, and you can see it goes straight into the centre there. Now this is the trickiest bit starting off, because you're holding it sort of tight in your hands, trying to keep it all together. Once we get going, it'll become easier because you haven't got to keep hold of it quite so tightly. So now we're going to take the end of our wrapping cord, and continue wrapping as we were. So go back in again, and we're going to continue wrapping, and I'm going to wrap now. I want a nice even gap, between stitches, so I'm going to wrap either 3 or 4 times is good. If you wrap less, it's a much tighter bowl. If you wrap more, it becomes a bit of a looser bowl, which is okay for smaller items, but for bigger items it's a bit too loose, not quite as dense. So we're going to wrap, I'm going to wrap 3 times around. That's 1, 2, 3, pulling it down, and then I'm going to take my needle again and pass it through the hole in the middle and pull the cord all the way through, like so. And again, I'll just show you the back so you can see we've got 2 stitches going into the middle now. So we're going to carry on like this, again wrapping up once, and then again just along my filler rope here, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 times and hold it in one hand and pass my needle through that central hole again. You want to keep this nice and tight and get all your wraps sort of pushed up together so that you don't get any of your filler rope showing. But also be mindful when you are pulling it that on your next row around, you've got to get your needle through this gap here, so that will make it trickier if it's too tight. So it's a bit of a challenge to get it at the right tension, but you'll begin to see how it works. So there we've got 3 stitches going on now, so that's that, and then we'll start again wrapping 1, 2, 3. I quite like 3 wraps between stitches, like I say, for the central part. But it's up to you, it's the look that you want to achieve. Pull it through. And again, back up to the outside, and I'll just show you the back again. And we're trying to achieve sort of a nice even pattern. It's almost like a fan out from that central part, and I'm going to continue going round my loop in the middle like so. So now I've been all the way round that central loop once, and I'm going to continue going round, building up my coils as we go. But this time the difference is we're going to take our needle and we're going to go not through the central hole each time, but we're going to go into the gap created by the last row. going here, for example, and then moving out. Every time we go around, we'll go into the next gap, and the other difference is I'm going to start wrapping 4 times, I'll show you, around my filler rope, because the circle we're creating is getting bigger. So I'm going to wrap 1, 2, 3 and 4 this time, and then I'm going to pass my needle, like I say, if I turn it over, hopefully you can see, I'm going to pass it through this gap here, which is in that gap of the round we just created, and not through the central hole this time. So I'm going to pass it through here and pull it through. Again, I'm going to pull it snugly but not too snugly, and then continue on my next round. So I've come to the end of that length of cord, and this is where I need to join in some more cord. So I've cut another length, and I've threaded my needle on to, again, just under halfway, or just over halfway. And I'm going to take the other end of the wrapping cord, and what I'm going to do is, it's best to stop just after a stitch if you can. So there's a stitch there, and then I've wrapped it round once more and left my end. So I'm going to hold that up there out the way and lay my new piece of cord, I'm going to lay that with about 4 centimetres sticking out, you can see there, and I'm going to squeeze that all together again with the filler cord, the filler rope inside, and just start wrapping again with this new piece of cord. Wrap it round, holding them all tightly as you can, and make sure, sort of use your thumb or your finger just to push it up next to the wraps you've just done, and then again wrap around like so, just to cover the join. And now, because I've done that, I'm going to give it another wrap around, and then your ends should be secure there, so you can just snip them off, or if you want to snip one off just at a time to make it a bit thinner. There we go, one off. I've sort of staggered them, then it sort of eases them in and makes them a bit thinner and a bit less noticeable as you carry on wrapping. So there we go. And now I need to do a stitch. So I'm going to take my needle. So now I've been round 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that completes the base. And you can see the pattern, the stitches is showing quite nicely. So next we get to the bit that I really love, which is building the sides. Now if you bring the cord up more quickly, you'll get a straighter sided bowl, and if you bring it up more slowly, more gradually, you'll get a more curved sided bowl. It's how you lay the cord on the previous row. So with this one, it's more quickly brought up, so it's straighter sided, and this one, it's been more gradually brought up, it's more curved sided. So we're going to carry on our way round like we have been doing, wrapping and stitching, but bringing our cord in slightly or more quickly if you want to as we go. So I'm going to go for a slight curve to my bowl, I think. So again, I'm going to wrap like I have been doing 4 times, or more or less if you prefer. And sometimes it's useful to have a peg just to hold things in place as you're working, or if you find that not so good, you don't need to use one. And then I'm going to make my stitch again, and as I do, I'm going to slightly push the cord forwards on top of the previous row, and this is where the side starts being built up. So I've just completed my 5th round, which is the first of shaping the sides. And if I just turn it over, you can see the side is just beginning to form here. And there's a tip I just wanted to give you when you're doing the sides. When you're wrapping round, if you make sure you pull it tight towards the wraps you've already done, when you wrap, that means it'll all stay nice and tight on the back, and you'll end up with less gaps showing the filler rope. If you do end up with any little gaps, you can use your fingers just to slide the cord along, or take some scissors and just push it along to fill in any of those little gaps that might appear. So now I'm going to continue building up my sides, and I want to go until I've done 7 rounds. So I've just finished my 7th round, and that's completed that first main colour. And now I'm going to take my second colour and join it in. So like we have been doing when we're adding in more cord, I'm going to lay it in the opposite direction, to the filler cord, like that. And my last one I did was a stitch with this first colour of cord. So now I'm going to start wrapping. So I'll hold it all together, pinch it all together with my thumb, and then my new cord, now I'm going to start wrapping around like we have been doing, and make sure we keep pushing it up next to these previous wraps to keep it nice and tight so we don't get any gaps. And wrap it round again. Snugly, and again wrap it around like so, and that's 4 times. So then I'm going to do a stitch, take my needle and stitch it in from the back, pulling my cord through. So I've taken, just easing any knots that you may get out as you go. I've taken my second length of cord, which was 10 meters, and I cut it in half just so it's a little bit easier to handle. But if you're happy to be teasing the knots out as you go, be a bit more patient, then you could just keep the whole length as 10 meters. So that's my first one done. I'm actually going to snip off now the cord that we've just finished with. Like that. Put that out of the way. And then I'm going to continue, just cover those ends as we go. I'm going to continue. And we're going to go round with this second colour 2 rounds. So that will give us 9 rounds in total. So I'm going to carry on going, building up my side. And this one, I'm going to sit it directly on top of my previous one, I think, just so it comes up a bit straighter now. So just laying my cord straight on top as I go around and wrapping. And then we'll get round to round number 9. So now I've just completed my 9th round and I'm back to the start. So we've got a couple of options of how to finish our basketball. First one is a little loop like this, and then we've also got the option of just making it a flatter edge on top. So to begin with, I'm going to show you how to do the little loop option. So what we need to do after our last stitch, we need to continue wrapping for about 10 centimetres. That's about 20 wraps. So I'm not going to stitch whilst I do this. All I'm going to do is wrap. I'm going to turn it round and I'm just going to wrap 20 times, or about 20, about 10 centimetres. Okay, so I think I'm going to do one more wrap. So that's about 20 wraps or 10 centimetres, like so. And then what I want to do is push on that wrapped piece of cord to form the loop shape of the handle there. And then I'm going to turn the basket round to face me. And I'm going to, get that bit of cord out there. And peg it in place, like so, in my little loop. And then take my needle again, and the needle is going to do 3 stitches covering this filler rope. But to begin with, we need to cut off the excess, leaving about 5 centimetres clear here. So I'm going to cut that off, and also angle it again like we did at the start, just to make it a bit thinner. So again, let's just angle that with our scissors, get that out of the way, pull off the little fluffy bits, and then we're going to lay the angled bit on top of the basket there, like so, making sure we still got our little loop. And then we're going to take our needle and start stitching again in the gap below, in our row below. Pull it through, pull it out. All the way through, pull it tight, and again wrap it round and push it through in the round below. We're going to do that about 3 times. Push it through. Pull it up nice and tight. I can take that peg off now. And we're going to do that again. There we go, so I've stitched that bit of handle in place, pulling it tight, making our loop stand up 3 times. Now what I want to do is just cover this last bit of cord here, so I'm just going to go round, keep wrapping it round until I've covered this last end bit of cord here. One more in there, and then that's the end of my filler rope, nicely covered. A little bit that I pulled out. Okay, now we just want to get rid of this end, so we're going to sew it one more time through, and then we're going to look on the inside of your basket bowl. So now I'm going to turn the bowl around. There's your little loop handle. So we just need to get rid of this end, like I said. So we're going to poke it. Just pick another row to take your needle back out through, going down another round and pull it back out. So we've just gone down one, just to go in and out another place really, to move the end of the cord around and then come back through on the next row higher up. It doesn't really matter too much where it is you're going in and out, it's just to get rid of your end. And then we're going to just snip that end off as close as you can to the bowl, like so, and then take the end of your sharp scissors and poke that end. Let's see. Just want to poke it back into the little gaps between your rounds just to get rid of that end and neaten it up. And there we go, that's the end disappeared, and that's your final finished bowl with your little loop handle. And then I'm going to show you the option to do the smooth top finish as well. So this is the option to make the top of your bowl finished flatter. So again, I've gone round and I've nearly finished my 9th round, but I've stopped about 4 or 5 centimetres back from the start point. And what I'm going to do is cut off the remaining filler rope, and I want to cut it off about 4 or 5 centimetres beyond that starting row there. So I'm just going to cut that off like so. And then this end bit, again, I'm going to cut it at an angle like we did at the start, just to thin it out a bit. I'm going to cut it underneath, shape it, just to get rid of the excess, pull off that fluffy bit. And then I'm going to continue stitching round to cover this final end, trying to pull it tight to keep it nice and flat. Take my needle, stitch round. that totally covers the end of the filler rope. So now all we need to do is get rid of the end of this wrapping cord. So we need to turn the bowl around, and then we're going to go down, take our needle down a line, so down through this round below it where we've just been working, and poke our needle through. If I turn the bowl back around, we're coming out again, so we've come down around here, and then we're going to go up. So there's lots of upping and downing. We're going to go up again and poke it through. So it's just we're just kind of weaving the end in and out just to secure it off. And then again I'm going to go down a line, down around, poke it through, pull it out, and one more, back up, and poke it through, pull it out, and then we can take our scissors and snip it off as close as possible to the basket bowl. There we go. And then take the end of your sharp scissors and just poke that little tail into the gap between the rounds, just to neaten it up. Poke the tail in, a little bit more, and there we go. That's your basket bowl finished with the smoother top to it. And then you can just mould it into shape. It's quite nice, it feels quite nice, almost like clay, because you can mould it into shape, make the bottom nice and firm, press it around. And I enjoy making these because you can just pick them up and do a bit here and there, and then put it down and come back to it, and it doesn't take many tools to create a really nice object that's useful as well. I really hope you enjoyed creating your basket bowl. We'd love to see the finished results. If you share your photos on Instagram, Facebook or Pinterest, be sure to tag us in so we get to see them. It's Rondos_creations. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up to date with our latest Rondos creation videos. Enjoy creating!